For years, Richard Carpenter, one half of the iconic musical duo The Carpenters, carried a silence that was heavier than any melody he ever composed. While the world adored the music that he created with his sister Karen, few were aware of the emotional storm that brewed behind their polished harmonies. Karen's voice, one of the most beloved in pop music, captivated millions, but the life she led behind the scenes was far from the picture-perfect image the public adored. Richard, as her brother and musical partner, watched her unravel, powerless to stop the devastating decline. It was a story of love, pain, and unspoken truths. Truths Richard only began to share after Karen's tragic passing. His revelations not only reshape how we view the Carpenters' legacy, but offer insight into the heartbreak and trauma that shadowed their careers. Karen's early life and family struggles. Karen Carpenter, born on March 2, 1950, in New Haven, Connecticut, grew up in a family where musical prodigy was expected. Richard, born 4 years earlier, displayed an extraordinary musical gift from a young age, easily recognized by their mother, Agnes, who praised Richard's talents as if they were her own. But when it came to Karen, the attention was different. While Richard received formal training and support, Karen was largely ignored when it came to her musical aspirations. Agnes, enamored by Richard's early brilliance, focused all her energy on his future, often neglecting Karen's own ambitions. This imbalance created a sense of alienation and insecurity in Karen. As she wrote in her high school diary, "Mom thinks Richard is Mozart and I'm just noise." These early feelings of inadequacy and rejection would set the stage for a lifelong struggle for approval, particularly from her mother. The Carpenters' rise to fame. Despite the familial challenges, Karen's musical talents began to shine through in high school. She joined the school band and soon discovered her natural aptitude for rhythm. Her brother Richard, who had already shown remarkable promise as an arranger, soon saw the potential in Karen's voice. By 1966, they formed the Richard Carpenter Trio and began playing together, eventually evolving into the Carpenters. In 1969, their demo of Ticket to Ride was discovered by Herb Alpert at A&M Records, who quickly signed them. Their debut album, Offering, was not an immediate hit, but it showcased Karen's unique voice and drumming talent. It wasn't until 1970 that the Carpenters truly hit the big time with their release of They Long to Be, Close to You, which became a massive hit, propelling them to international stardom. Karen's voice was now one of the most recognizable in the music industry, but the personal struggles she faced were just beginning. The weight of fame and family tensions. With the success of the Carpenters came mounting pressure, both professionally and personally. Karen, once content behind the drums, was now thrust into the spotlight as the face of the group. This transition was difficult for her. She was a naturally shy person who found comfort in the background. Yet, audiences wanted to see her face, to connect with the voice they adored. As the band's primary vocalist, Karen was pushed to step away from her drums, a decision that left her feeling exposed and anxious. Adding to the stress was the complicated family dynamic. Despite Karen's success, their mother, Agnes, continued to place more emphasis on Richard's role in the band, praising him as the true musical genius behind their success. Richard's perfectionism, coupled with their grueling work schedule, led to tension within the family. By 1973, the Carpenters played 174 concerts in a single year, leaving Karen exhausted and feeling like a mere figurehead in the band rather than an active collaborator. Karen's struggle with anorexia and health issues. By the mid-1970s, Karen's physical and emotional health began to deteriorate. Her weight dropped dramatically and she became frail, often alarming her friends and colleagues. In 1975, the Carpenters were forced to cancel their European tour, citing exhaustion, but the truth was far more troubling. Karen was struggling with anorexia nervosa. The disorder was largely misunderstood at the time, and Karen's appearance only deepened the mystery surrounding her condition. The public continued to praise her vocal talents, but behind the scenes, Karen was fighting a battle that few people understood. Despite her battle with anorexia, Karen's musical talents remained undeniable. In 1975, she was even voted the 10th best drummer in the world by Playboy magazine, a remarkable feat for a female musician in a male-dominated field. However, for Karen, it only served as a painful reminder of what she had lost, her ability to play the instrument she loved most. It was clear that the pressures of fame were taking their toll. The solo dream and professional struggles. In the late 1970s, Karen longed for independence and a chance to pursue her musical career outside of the Carpenter's shadow. When Richard entered rehab for his addiction, Karen saw an opportunity to record a solo album. She traveled to New York and worked with producer Phil Ramone, experimenting with a new sound that felt more true to herself. Karen's solo work was a revelation, showcasing her versatility and confidence as an artist. Friends who heard the finished product were stunned by the depth and maturity of her music. However, when she played the album for Richard and A&M executives, the response was devastating. Richard, still reeling from his rehab, saw the solo project as a betrayal, and the album was ultimately shelved. Despite praise from industry insiders, Karen was left heartbroken. The album was never released, and she was burdened with a $400,000 debt for the recording costs. Her solo dream had collapsed, and the weight of her personal struggles continued to deepen. Karen's troubled marriage and further decline. Amid her professional frustrations, Karen believed she had finally found the love and stability she had longed for in her personal life. In June 1980, she met Thomas James Burris, a real estate developer who seemed to offer the security she craved. Within 2 months, they were engaged. However, just days before their planned wedding, Karen discovered a painful truth. Burris had undergone a vasectomy and had no intention of reversing it. For Karen, who dreamed of having children, this revelation was crushing. Her mother, Agnes, offered no emotional support, choosing instead to focus on the family's reputation. The wedding went ahead, but the marriage quickly deteriorated. Burris, far from the wealthy man he had portrayed himself to be, began draining Karen's finances, borrowing large sums of money from her. The emotional abuse compounded Karen's illness, and by 1981, her health had reached a critical point. She was consuming large quantities of laxatives and medication to try to control her weight. Despite her ongoing battle, Karen sought treatment in New York, where she began therapy with psychotherapist Stephen Levenkron. Karen's final struggles and her tragic passing. In 1982, Karen's health showed some signs of improvement. She gained weight and seemed to be on the road to recovery. She even performed a final concert for her godchildren in December 1982, singing Christmas carols with a glimmer of the vibrancy she once had. On January 11, 1983, she attended a Grammy Awards celebration, and friends noted her bright demeanor. However, Karen's recovery was short-lived. On February 4, 1983, after preparing to sign divorce papers from her abusive husband, Karen collapsed. She was rushed to the hospital, but at 9:51 a.m., she was pronounced dead. Her cause of death was heart failure caused by the long-term effects of anorexia nervosa and medication abuse. At just 32 years old, Karen Carpenter's life had come to a tragic end. Her funeral, held at the Downey United Methodist Church, was attended by friends, family, and fans who had adored her voice for years. Karen Carpenter's lasting impact. Though Karen's life was tragically cut short, her legacy as an artist endures. Her voice, warm and haunting, remains one of the most cherished in music history. The Carpenters' songs continue to touch the hearts of listeners around the world. Yet, behind the melodies and harmonies, there lies a deeper, more painful story that Richard Carpenter has finally begun to share. It is a story of love, loss, and the haunting silence that comes with losing someone so close. Karen's struggles were hidden behind the fame and success, but Richard's efforts to preserve her memory ensure that her true story, one of incredible talent and heartbreaking suffering, will never be forgotten.